Good workout, good workout, good workout, good workout. Good job, guys. Keep it coming, keep it coming. Touch 2, then it's 3.
This is the GVM SD-300 Pro. Now, just in all transparency, GVM did send me this light to review, but as always, whenever a company sends me something, they tell me that I can say whatever I want, and I am not obligated to tell you that this light is good if it isn't. So with that out of the way, when you hear the name Pro in a piece of gear, especially like a light or lens, you start to ask yourself, well, what does Pro mean? Well, I'm gonna explain that to you in this situation with this light here. And I will say that this light does classify itself as a pro light, and I will say that the features in this light are actually pro. Starting with the build quality, I will say that this light is a premium quality light. It's all metal. Every aspect of it is metal, it seems. And it's not just cheap metal, it seems like it's really quality metal. Just the weight of this light, you can tell, is different from other lights that are just regular prosumer or consumer lights. It's a big difference in quality. The second thing you'll notice is with the buttons on this light. The buttons on this light are metal buttons as well. And it's not just that these buttons are metal, it's how they respond when you turn them. You can actually feel the little detents or the clicks as you turn the knob. And one of the knobs on here, the first one, actually is a select knob as well, which means you can push it in. And when you push it in, it actually feels like a quality button. It doesn't feel all mushy, like it's gonna break over time. It actually feels like it's gonna hold up over the years. Now, the other thing I love about this light is the fact that it has an LCD on the back. Now, this is a really crisp LCD as far as the sharpness of everything. I'm not saying the graphics are really clear, but it's easy to read and it's easy to see. So this sets it apart from other lights that are really cheap, which may not have that good of a readout on it. And this is huge when you're dealing with being behind the light and you're trying to control it, especially if you're in a dark room or you're in a situation where there's a lot of light in the room. This LCD is bright enough to where even in bright situations, you can still read what's going on with the light. And then in addition to the screen, you also can use an app with this light. Now, the thing I like about the app is the fact that every function on the light, you can actually control with the app. So this makes this light a light where you can mount up high and you don't really ever have to touch it again. And there's another feature that I'm gonna tell you guys about a little bit later that actually helps when your light is far away, which I think again speaks to the pro name when you're talking about a pro light. Now, moving along to the functions of this light. So this light is a bicolor light, meaning it goes from 2700 all the way up to 6800 Kelvin. And that is a pretty wide spectrum. Now, one of the things you want to think about when you're talking about lights is the color accuracy of this light. This is a very accurate light, so you don't have to worry about the colors not matching your other lights. Now, another thing that isn't really talked about when lights are talked about online is the accuracy of the light over time. When you first buy a cheap light, it may be accurate when you first buy it, but as time goes on and as you use that light, it actually may start to shift in color. And when you have them around other lights, you'll notice it may have like a green tint to it, it may have yellow or orangish tint to it, but it just doesn't keep the quality over time. But I believe this chip on this light is a high quality chip, and we'll see over time how it actually fares. I will say I have some older GVM lights and those are pretty color accurate, and they're not pro like these lights, but they're still really good lights. When you talk about lighting, one of the words that we hear a lot is watts. So watts doesn't actually refer to how bright a light is. Watts is just the consumption of power that the light uses. So an accurate measure of light is actually lumens. So that's what you want to look at when you're comparing lights, not the wattage, but the lumens, because some lights may claim something like 300 watts power consumption, but if you compare it to like a 150 watt light, the lumens on the 150 watt light may actually be higher than the one on the 300. Then you have lux and candela, which are parts of the brightness of the light, which I'm not going to get into now, but just so you know that when you're looking at a light, watts is not the thing that you should be looking at as far as how bright the light is going to be, but you do want to look at the lumens. Moving along to what makes this light pro. We talked about the build of the light, but also the power brick that comes with this light. The thing I like about this power brick is it actually comes with a V mount, the same kind of mount that you'll see on battery. So this just clamps right onto the light itself, and it holds the power brick up off the floor, and you don't have to find a way to strap it down to the light itself. Now that to me is very pro. In addition to that, there's a cable that comes from the power brick and plugs into the light. And this is like a weather sealed cable, and it actually clips on and snaps in really good. So you don't have to worry about it falling out or getting bumped out, because it's clipped in there and it's not going to come out unless you push this clip down and actually pull the actual cord out. So I think, again, this speaks to the pro level of this light. This is a Bowens mount light, so that means you can use your soft boxes or any type of Bowens mount modifier that you have will fit on this light. And a good thing about this light is the actual release button for the Bowens mount. It's a quality button. It's really springy. It feels like it's made out of metal as well, and it doesn't feel like it's gonna pop out. I've had some lights and some reflectors where you put them in and it just doesn't click in and things fall out, but that's not the case with this light here. Moving on to the back of the light, you're going to notice these two connections. These are DMX. Now, if you don't know about DMX, in a nutshell, it's just digital multiplex. What that is in a nutshell is just how these lights can communicate with other lights inside of a network. So DJs, stage lighting, all that kind of stuff, they can be controlled remotely through programs like Ableton Live or other DMX controllers. So just so you know, you have that option with this light. You have your input and then your output as well. Now you'll notice these other buttons on the back, the mode, the menu, back, and the cool buttons. And I'll go over that in just a minute. But if we look at the first screen on here, you'll see that you can control your color temperature, your CCT here. So again, this is a 2700 to 6800 Kelvin light. And with this, you can dial in the exact color temperature that you want. And this is a good thing to have, because if you have other lights that you're trying to match them to, then you can do that really easy by dialing it in. Now, in addition to that, we also have another menu here, which is our color match menu. We can choose specific color temperatures that are already preset into the light, just like on your camera where you have the different white balances that are set in there. And that is something that is pretty handy to have, in my opinion. Moving on to the effects on the back of this light, you do have things like welding, TV, and these are simulated effects. So if you wanted to set up a scene and it looks like a TV is on in the background, you could do that with this light. Now, how realistic is it going to be? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're looking for, but just know that this light does have effects in it. And again, you can control all of this from the phone app that you can download. Another feature that makes this light pro is its stepless dimming. What that means is as you turn the dim knob, you don't see these incremental shifts in brightness. You'll see a jump like maybe 5% to 10%, but this is a smooth linear control. So as you dial it, you feel it go up really slowly and it feels smooth. Now, on top of that, you also have something called dimming curves. Dimming curves adjust how the light responds when you turn the knob. The first one is your linear curve, which means as you turn the knob, your brightness will increase according to how you turn the knob. So as you turn it, it'll go up exactly the same as if you're turning it, if that makes sense. The next one is log or logarithmic curves. This one changes the light value slower at the beginning, and then at the end, when you get to the higher levels, it'll actually go up quicker as you turn the knob. The way the exponential curve works is the intensity will change slowly when adjusting it from 0 to 80, and then change faster when you increase it from about 80 to 100. Now the S curve is more like a finer control over the lower and the higher end, but in the middle, it kind of just ramps up quick. So you'll start low, and then in the middle, it'll get up to the high point, and then you can slowly, gradually turn it up. So those dimming curves like that may not seem like a huge deal, but when you're working with other lights and you're trying to make them work together, it's a huge benefit to be able to precisely control your lights. We move over to the wireless LAN settings. This allows us to change our Bluetooth and things like that, so we can adjust frequencies if you're dealing with other devices in the area. So that's a really nice feature to have. Again, I believe these things are what classify this light as a pro light, because most of the time you won't have access to any of these things. This next feature here is called studio mode. And what studio mode does is something that a lot of consumer lights don't do. So let's say you have your light high up on a pole and you can't reach it physically and you just want to leave it in one spot. Well, what the light will do is once it senses that there's electricity, like if you were to unplug it and plug it back in, or you have it on a switch, the light will automatically come on without you having to press the switch on the back of the light. And that just makes it really good if you want to hang this light from like a truss, or you want to put it up high where you're not going to be physically able to reach it all the time. So I think the studio mode is, it may not seem huge, but if you're in a position to have to use that, that is a pro feature that I think you'll love if you get this light. Another one of the pro features is to be able to change the frequency of this light. If you ever had a light where you set your shutter speed and then you start to get banding lines or flickering, well, what that usually means is that the frequency of the LED doesn't match what's in the camera, and you're getting this mismatch and it gives you lines. Well, this light allows you to actually control the pulse width modulation. I'm not going to get into all of that, but basically you can get rid of that by changing the frequency on the light. Again, another pro feature that's not available on most consumer lights. The last one is the fan settings here. You have auto, high, and silent. Now on automatic, what happens is if you turn the light up really bright, over time, the fan will automatically ramp up and down as the light is on. It's been doing it now. I don't know if you can hear it. It's not really that loud. The second setting is high, which means the fan is going to be ramped all the way up all of the time, and it just keeps the light really cool. The last fan setting is silent, which means that the fan is going to run at the lowest setting possible. Now what this does is it dims the light down. It doesn't allow the light to reach its maximum brightness, because the whole goal is to keep the light cool. The last button on the back is the cool button. If you've had a long shoot before, you know that your light can get extremely hot even when the fan is running. Let's say it's been up for like 3 or 4 hours and now you're ready to pack up and leave. Well, if you turn that light right off and throw it in your bag, it could burn because everything in that light is still extremely hot. Well, if you press the cool button, what happens is it ramps up the fans and it cools down the whole light in a matter of minutes so that you can pack it up and take it away, and you don't have to worry about it burning up anything. And I think that makes this a pro feature with this light. So I really tried to look at this light and say, well, what don't I like about this light? And to be honest with you, there's not much I don't like about it. The size is probably the only thing. It is a really big light. It's not something that's small. So this is a pretty large light, and it's not really meant to take around a lot unless you have some kind of case to put it in or something like that. But for the most part, this light is going to be stationary in one spot. The other thing I will say about this light is, as far as now, there's no way to power this with a battery that I know of. Now, there may be some solutions out there, or there may be some coming, but I don't know of those yet. But as of right now, the only way to power this light is to plug it into AC. So other than that, I can't really think of any cons for this light. It's not an expensive light either. So I honestly will say, if you're looking to step up with a light like this, this is a great light to get, because you get a lot of lumens for the power, and it seems to be a very well built light. Now I'm gonna look at some of the footage here, and I'm gonna go through how I set this up in the gym that I was at here. And if you're interested, just keep watching. So I just wanna go over briefly how I set up the light here at this boxing club here. Shout out to Joey, the owner, who let me come through. I contacted him last minute. I had some other things lined up, but they fell through. They didn't work. So this was literally last minute. I had just maybe like a couple hours to go in there, grab some footage. I didn't have a lot of time to set up lights. There were a bunch of people in there, so I had to work around them. But I think what I came out with was pretty good. And I just wanted to show you guys what I did with the GVM light. If you saw the top of the video, then you already saw. But this is, I'm shooting on, I think with this shot, I was using a Sigma 56mm 1.4 lens. You can see he's pretty much right there in front of us, and then the background is blurred out with bokeh. I just like this is equivalent of 85mm if you're shooting full frame. But what I did with the light, so I don't have a diagram of this place, but so the light is actually probably about maybe, I want to say about 100 feet away. It's actually in the back corner. So behind him is a boxing ring here, and he's sparring with another partner. They're just kind of doing, and there's a bunch of other people sparring around here too, but the light is actually behind him back here. You can't see it, so I'm gonna scrub through this footage a little bit here, and we'll see when he moves out of the way. You should be able to get a glimpse of the light here. I may have to back it up. And actually there it is. So it's not necessarily behind him at this point because I moved over. So it's coming in between his gloves and his chest here. And you just see that from time to time as he is throwing these punches here. And it's also, if you look here on his face here, you can see it's giving him a little outline as well. So that light being back there really did a lot for this shot, to be honest with you. And the way I ran it, I didn't run it through any diffusion. It was literally, I just had the bare chip out, the bare LED out, and I just had the cone that goes around it. I can't think right now. The diffuser. It is not diffusion in front of the light, but it just, the reflector is what it's called. I had the reflector on there, and it just beamed the light out. And you can see, I mean, it's bright. And I don't even think I had it at 100%. I think it was like at 70%. But it was bright enough to just blast through all the lights that were in here. So that's one of the benefits of having a light that shoots out, you know, a lot of lumens. So it makes it really nice. But I'm pleased with how these shots came out here with this light here. And I hope I didn't blind anybody there, because I tried to tell everybody really quickly what I was doing. Well, I told the owner what I was doing, and he kind of let everybody else know. So, but I think it worked out pretty good. So there's a lot of different things you can do with this light. But if you're interested in seeing more things like this and setups, I'm sorry I didn't get any behind the scenes footage. I would have loved to, but it was so hectic and so busy. I didn't have time to set up another camera. But maybe that's something I'll do, or just have somebody come with me next time so they can kind of be BTS. But if you like this sort of stuff, just let me know. But I think this light is a great light. I'm not just saying that because they sent it to me. I think it's really good. But let me know your thoughts below. Now, if you're looking for some smaller lights that you can pack up and take with you, then check out the review I did of these lights here. But until next time, I'll holler at y'all later. I'm out. Peace.